Imagine walking into your local grocery store. You're already struggling to make ends meet. Prices are rising, your paycheck feels smaller every month, and every dollar counts. But what you don't realize is that hidden in your city's budget, tucked away in bland legal terminology, is a massive bill you're helping to pay. That bill? Police misconduct settlements. Every time an officer is accused of brutality, wrongful death, unlawful arrest, or abuse of power, and the city quietly writes a check to make the problem go away, it's not the officer paying. It's not the police department paying. It's you. Your taxes, your money, your community resources. This is the hidden cost of police misconduct. A cost measured not just in billions of dollars, but in broken trust, lost opportunity, and communities forced to pay for their own abuse. And tonight, we're pulling back the curtain. Police misconduct is not a fringe issue. It's not a few bad apples. It's a structural, recurring, expensive problem that's been documented for decades. Let's start with the numbers. Between 2010 and 2020, America's largest cities paid out over $3 billion in police misconduct claims. That's $3 billion in taxpayer money. Chicago, from 2011 to 2018, the city paid more than $500 million in settlements and judgments related to police misconduct. New York City, in 2019 alone, New York paid $175 million in misconduct claims. Los Angeles, between 2014 and 2018, the city spent $190 million. And those are just the largest cities. Across the country, from Minneapolis to Baltimore to St. Louis, settlements pile up year after year. In 2018, Chicago spent $113 million on police misconduct. Compare that to its school budget shortfalls, where teachers were being laid off and classroom resources slashed. Imagine what $113 million could do for schools, libraries, affordable housing, or healthcare programs. Instead, it vanished into settlements, a band-aid for wounds that never heal. Here's the cruel irony. The officers responsible almost never pay a dime. When a doctor commits malpractice, they can be sued, and their malpractice insurance helps cover damages. When a company causes harm, it can be fined, and executives can face accountability. But when a police officer violates someone's rights, even when they're found guilty in civil court, the settlement comes from the city's general fund. That's taxpayer money. This means, the family who lost a loved one in a wrongful police shooting may receive millions in settlement money, but it comes from the very same community devastated by the loss. The city's budget for parks, roads, or mental health services might be cut, while settlement payments quietly drain the coffers. Communities already struggling with poverty and systemic inequities are forced to foot the bill for their own mistreatment. As one civil rights attorney once put it, victims of police misconduct get compensation, but the community pays twice, once in pain and once in money. There are three main reasons why individual officers almost never face personal consequences for misconduct settlements. 1. Police unions and contracts. Police unions negotiate contracts that protect officers from personal liability. Clauses often guarantee that officers won't be financially responsible for actions taken while on duty, no matter how egregious. 2. Qualified immunity. A controversial legal doctrine, qualified immunity shields officers from lawsuits unless a plaintiff can prove that their rights were clearly established in previous, nearly identical cases. This sets an almost impossible standard and dismisses many lawsuits before they even start. 3. City risk management practices. Cities prefer to settle quietly rather than risk a public trial. Trials expose systemic issues, generate media attention, and could lead to larger payouts. Settlements, on the other hand, can be buried in budgets, reported in obscure legal filings, and forgotten by the public. The result is a system where officers can abuse power, cities pay out millions, and nothing changes. Numbers alone don't capture the pain. Behind every settlement is a story. George Floyd, Minneapolis, 2020. George Floyd's murder by Officer Derek Chauvin sparked global protests. But before Chauvin's criminal conviction, Minneapolis reached a $27 million settlement with Floyd's family. It was the largest pretrial settlement in U.S. history. That money came from city funds. In effect, Minneapolis taxpayers, including many who marched in the streets demanding justice, were forced to pay for the crime. Laquan McDonald, Chicago, 2014. Laquan McDonald, a black teenager, was shot 16 times by Officer Jason Van Dyke. The city of Chicago quickly approved a $5 million settlement with McDonald's family, trying to keep the dashcam footage hidden. When the video eventually surfaced, public outrage exploded. Freddie Gray, Baltimore, 2015. After Freddie Gray died from spinal injuries in police custody, Baltimore agreed to a $6.4 million settlement with his family. Meanwhile, Baltimore schools faced massive funding cuts. Countless others. Small settlements for unlawful arrests, $50,000 here, $100,000 there. Wrongful convictions overturned after decades in prison. Millions in compensation. Victims of sexual misconduct by officers. Confidential settlements, hidden from public records. Each case adds to a staggering bill, and the pattern repeats. The hidden costs of police misconduct settlements go far beyond the financial burden. Erosion of trust. When officers face no personal accountability, and taxpayers are left paying, communities lose faith in the justice system. Residents feel betrayed, not protected. Strained city budgets. Settlements drain city budgets. This means fewer services for the very communities most impacted by police violence. It's a vicious cycle. Over-policed, underserved, and underfunded. No deterrence. Because officers rarely face personal or professional consequences, misconduct continues. Settlements become the cost of doing business. For cities, it's easier to write a check than to fix the system. Psychological toll. Communities already suffering from systemic racism experience compounded trauma. The violence itself, the lack of justice, and the knowledge that their own money paid for it. Why hasn't this changed? The political pressure. Police unions wield enormous power, lobbying to protect officers. Public relations. Cities fear the media fallout of trials. Quiet settlements keep headlines short-lived. Legal inertia. Qualified immunity and union contracts are deeply embedded in the system. A fear of reform. Some argue that holding officers personally liable would make them hesitant to do their jobs. But critics counter that accountability improves professionalism. Ultimately, it persists because it benefits those in power, not the public. Experts and reform advocates have proposed several solutions. 1. Officer liability insurance. Just like doctors carry malpractice insurance, officers could carry liability insurance. Premiums would rise with misconduct, creating financial accountability. 2. Stronger oversight boards. Many cities have civilian oversight boards, but most lack real power. Strengthening them with investigative authority and disciplinary control could change outcomes. 3. Union contract reform. Renegotiating contracts to remove blanket protections would allow cities to hold officers accountable. 4. Transparency laws. Requiring cities to publicly report every settlement would shine a light on the financial toll, making it harder to hide. 5. Redirecting funds. Some argue settlements should come directly from police budgets, not general city funds. This would create direct incentives for reform. Imagine a world where officers' new misconduct could impact their own finances and careers. Taxpayer money wasn't siphoned into hush-money settlements. Communities could reinvest those millions into schools, housing, mental health, and opportunity. A trust between police and citizens could begin to rebuild. This isn't just about money. It's about justice. Until real accountability exists, taxpayers will keep paying, in dollars, in dignity, and in lives lost. The hidden cost of police misconduct settlements is not measured only in dollars. It's measured in broken trust, stolen futures, and the haunting truth that communities are forced to pay for their own oppression. Until we demand real accountability, the cycle will continue. The question is, how much longer will we allow it? If this story opened your eyes, don't let it stop here. Subscribe to the channel, share this video, and help us uncover the truths hidden in plain sight. Your voice, your attention, your demand for change. That's the only way accountability begins.